Good morning. Hello. Welcome to everybody. Welcome to the first panel discussion at Brighton Coffee Festival 2023. I'd like to welcome the fabulous panellists today, who they will introduce themselves in a second. But this panel is all about, the topic of discussion is about the experience of women in the coffee industry. And we are hearing more and more stories of women starting their own business in coffee, whether it be roasteries, managerial operations, or exporting coffee, for example. But we know there's still a lot of work to do, and we still need to push the boundaries to make those opportunities happen. So we've got some really cool people here to just have a bit of a chat, really, very informal. So I'm going to start by asking you to introduce yourself, if that's okay, in no particular order. Who wants to go first?
Hi, I'm Midori. I work for the coffee roasters in London and has been. As a digital manager, I am responsible for their website and Instagram and social media platforms. And I'm a UK Cup Business Champion.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't believe you didn't put that first. I'm definitely put that first. So I'm Heidi. I was Midori's coach. Put that there first. Joking. I'm just a little short. I'm just a latte art trainer at the London School of Coffee. So I've been a trainer there for the past 3 years, but I've just obviously been a barista working at coffee for the past maybe 10 years now. 10, 12 years? Yeah, a long time.
My name's Esther. I run Hope Espresso, and I can't really summarise what I do in a sentence other than someone said the other day that I was the 911 coffee
Emergency.
coffee line. So if you need something coffee and you need it urgently, I'm the person to talk to.
Amazing.
I'm Fee I'm founder of Girls Who Grind Coffee. I basically head a brand there, so I look after all things brand, design, socials, collabs, etc., etc. So all that sort of the fun stuff for me. But my background in coffee kind of started, I don't know, about 25 years ago, I suppose. I'm very old. Where I started my own cafe back in Melbourne, which was in support of street art and Australian hip hop. So it was like just that cafe culture side of things that really got me into the coffee industry. So that's how I combine my love of design and coffee.
Cool, thank you. I think what would be really cool and interesting probably for a lot of people here today is to understand what attracted you all to a career in coffee in the first place, and any obstacles you might have overcome to get to the position you're in now. Again, in no particular order, whoever wants to go first.
That's you. Well, basically, yeah, like I said, I started in coffee a long time ago, and it kind of, even though things have developed and changed a lot over the years, it still feels like it's in a very similar place. Like women are in sort of different positions within the coffee industry, and I think that's changing now to the point where you're feeling more like empowered to start your own business, which I'm really happy about and excited about, and hope that more women do that, and seeing themselves as managers and what have you within the industry. But my what was the question? I've gone off on a tangent already.
That's fine.
Yeah, ADHD.
That's fine. It's what inspired you to get into the coffee industry, and any kind of obstacles
Right. Yeah, the obstacles. Well, there's many obstacles, and there still is. Even though, like I was saying, that things have changed, I still feel as women that for me personally, I feel like we still have to sort of fight a little bit harder, prove ourselves a little bit more than we really should have to, more so than our male counterparts sometimes. But why I started Girls Who Grind was basically because I saw a lot of these issues within the industry, and I'm not one for sitting and complaining about something. Rather than complaining about it, I really wanted to make the change I wanted to see, for want of a better phrase. But so we really wanted to just support that female chain through the whole process, from the producer side of things all the way through to the consumer side of things. So just wanting to make those changes that I wanted to see myself personally.
Amazing, thank you. property?
Well, I started my career, probably about 11 years ago, and I started working in a coffee shop in Japan. And then the reason for working in the coffee industry is because the barista I was speaking to, he was explaining about this coffee and farmers, and then that was like really fascinating, and I wanted to learn more. And then he said, the best way to learn is just working in a coffee shop. So I started working there, and then realized there is a job that is involved with tasting, and then everyone can talk like the same language as a tasting, and describe coffee. I was like, wow, that's an interesting job. And then more and more I dive into it, I was like, this is a cool job that I, can be proud of. And then I am not a curator, but I do, work along with them, and then, I show their job and how amazing they're doing as a marketing perspective, and it's a great thing. And then since I moved to the UK, I don't know if there's an obstacle. I think the company, I'm quite lucky that the company I work for has 50-50 female and male. And I've never felt like I don't have a voice, when I was growing up, I was I'm a female, and, I always was taught by the society that as a female you shouldn't speak up, as a female you have to do this way. And then when I moved to London, and I was like, I can say, whatever I want to say from deep from my heart, and then, I don't feel as much obstacle for me.
Okay.
Yeah, at the moment, but yeah, I might be a little bit different opinion.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah.
So I only started in coffee because I couldn't actually really do anything else. Didn't go to college, didn't go to uni, so I was just my parents you have to get a job. So I was like, okay, I'll just get a job in a coffee shop then.
You're good at everything.
Well, no, and now it turns out that I'm quite good at a lot of things, but I think it's lacking self-confidence maybe. But so I wasn't very confident, but working in coffee, I think obviously trying to find some sort of way of having a career out of it, because obviously when you're a barista you're quite limited, you're just a barista, there's not really any, we were talking about this the other day, but career progression sometimes, and you're how do I can't be a barista for the rest of my life, because my parents are always kind of saying, when are you going to get a proper job, Heidi? And I was like, okay. But for me, I think the most difficult part, because you were saying, what was the question? It was obstacles.
Yeah.
Was transitioning from going from a barista and then kind of using the skills that I'd attained from doing competitions into the next role, which obviously I was really lucky to have an opportunity. Ironically, at competition, I met Emma Haynes, and she was like, we're looking for an assistant at the school. Do you want to just come and help out and stuff? And I was like, yeah, I'm good at washing dishes and I'm good at organising things, so I can come in and help, and I understand the whole training part of it. But then Gail, the manager of the school, was like, we need someone to teach latte art, and you can do latte art, Heidi, so maybe you should teach it. And I was like, but I'm not a teacher, so I can't do it. And she was like, well, no. She was like, you can, just try, just teaching one person and go from there. And I really, for I think a year, didn't believe in myself that I could do it. And I was just I don't want to do this, I can't do it. And I just kept seeing all the other trainers being so because you're a trainer as well, so you understand, it's you see all these really confident people teaching rooms, and it's you're just there being why can't I teach the one thing that I do and I love the most? So that was probably the biggest obstacle for me, overcoming that fear. But obviously having the support from Gail, who's my manager, who's amazing, and then having Emma as well, being you always have to go through this stage of feeling uncomfortable doing something that you've never done before, but now it's the best decision that I've ever made, because yes, I'm still a barista part-time just because I love it so much and it's fun, but I teach something which I absolutely adore, I love doing, and I love teaching people, and so that for me was the biggest hurdle at the moment.
I think that's one of the biggest things for women within any industry is the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I feel I'm not here, I'm not here to poo-poo men at all. That's not what I'm about. But what I'm trying to say is that there's two of them in the room. Close your ears for a minute. No, but basically, you know, I don't feel like men have that imposter syndrome as strongly as women have that within any industry. So I think that's the thing we all have as obstacles. It holds us back from so much before we even start. And that's before, you know, not just owning your own business, but like moving forward within a position, you know, particular role, or within, you know, your company, or to the next stage in your career, or what that looks like. You know, it's always, for me, especially going through, and the more I talk to more women about it, that's the thing that actually stops us, is just thinking we're not good enough, or that we're not capable when we obviously are.
Yeah, I agree.
So can you repeat the question again?
So what attracted you about moving or getting a career in coffee, and any kind of obstacles you've had to overcome, whatever they may be, to get to the position you're in now?
So I started in coffee when I was 14 as just like a little baby barista, and then I'm now 28, so I've been in the industry for 14 years. So I love the industry, hate it at the same time for so many reasons. But I guess what's kept me in it has been the people, and by that I mean like not just the network of people here, but understanding that it's a product that impacts so many people around the world and so many people rely on it, and the privilege it is working in this industry and trying to improve the coffee quality, and how that kind of has a line that goes all the way back to the farmers at origin, and how we have the opportunity to improve their lives as well. Obstacles I've overcome in the industry, oh my god, every day I feel like I'm fighting a battle. But like from when I first started, the last company that I had, Manumit Coffee, which is a roastery that hires survivors of modern day slavery and human trafficking survivors. I set that up with 2 male counterparts as my business partners, and even from starting that up, that's where it really hit me, the difference in how men and women were perceived within the industry, because so many times I would go out and like represent the company that I was on company's house for as well, and then people would ask me like, oh, can I speak to the owner? Oh, can I speak to your boss? Oh, can I speak to this? And even like I would employ men to come with me on the thing, and they would say to me, like, say if the man was busy, they would say to me like, oh, can I speak to your boss like when they have free time? And I'd be like, I'm their boss. Like, just because I'm young and a woman, it doesn't mean that I can't have this responsibility. So that was quite, I think I developed quite thick skin over the years for dealing with that. And then when I come to set up Hope Espresso now, I've had like different challenges in going and like consulting for other companies. I feel like people think because I'm young, and I know I do look about 12 years old still. I did get ID'd for buying fake eyelashes the other day in TK Maxx.
Get ID'd for that?
Yeah. So I know that that has an impact as well, but being a woman, people don't take your knowledge seriously as much as like so, like a male could come in and say do X, Y, and Z. People would just believe it, like blind. You can put a YouTube video up of a guy saying something, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is Bible truth." And then I'm there, like having to get out my calculator and prove the science to be able to say, "No, actually, this is what it is." And I found that difficult in training as well. Sometimes I find when I'm running sensory or roasting courses, like I can have some guys on the course, I never get this with women, where they just try and prove that they know more than me. So it'll be like, I'll be teaching the curriculum and they'll just challenge, question everything. And it'll be like a competition of who knows more. And I'm like, you're paying to come here and learn from me, and you're using your money and time now to try and prove that you know more than me. Like, I'll take the cash, like, no problem. But, and then the last thing I would say, more recently, I've done a lot of work on training, like engineering and that side of coffee, so like fixing and maintaining coffee machines. And oh my God, I've opened up a whole nother world with that as well. Like so many times I go in with a toolkit to fix a grinder or fix something, and people will ask me, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, what do you think I'm doing? Like, I'm not just taking this apart and gonna break it for fun. Like, obviously I'm here to fix the machine. Or, and I recently did a course at Bravalaw. They offer free training for people on how to fix the beans cut machines and stuff. And the guy who trained me, he's been a trainer for 40 years in the coffee industry, in engineering, and he said I was the 4th woman he'd ever taught how to fix a coffee machine. And you're just like,
It's mental.
it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a ramble, but
No, that's amazing. Thank you for
very
sharing.
valid.
experiences
Thank you for
that
sharing.
I've had.
It's kind of crazy that we have to prove that we're kind of worth, you know, why we're doing these things. Like that engineer side of things, you had to explain why you were there. And
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think we need to do to kind of help drive change in that kind of the views of people and the kind of roles that are out there?
I mean, I think it's just more women doing more of those particular roles. There's such a gap for women engineers within the coffee industry. I mean, all engineering, obviously, but for the coffee industry specifically, all of those roles really that aren't the sort of traditional roles that women would fall into within the coffee industry. It's like the more we do it, the more we just prove that we're very valid and equal within the industry. I mean, yeah, that's the whole drive behind Girls Who Grind Coffee, was to do that. It wasn't to, like I said, poo-poo men or to be anti-men. We say anti-patriarchy, and I think it's a really strong statement that it's not, we're trying to challenge the system that's in place, and the system at the moment is very, not equal, basically. So just trying to force ourselves upon the industry and, to the consumers as well, to say, hey, look, we do the whole thing, the whole chain from the beginning to the end, and we're more than capable. And I think the more women that kind of come forward, and the whole thing of having to prove ourselves, but at the end of the day, there's no other way forward.
Yeah.
It's just to just do it and prove it that, we don't have to prove ourselves and do more. We should just have to show that we're capable, and we are, obviously. Yeah.
And talking about kind of the chain within the coffee, so going back to the producers, you've got a really cool cheek-to-cheek program.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
do you wanna-
That's something we started a couple of years ago now, and basically that was because we utilize our producers' names and not the visual. With the visuals are like an illustration that's like supposed to represent the sort of spirit behind the coffee, if you like. But we use their names and their stories, and that's a big part of what we do, because we want to share their stories. But at the same time, we don't want to utilize it as like a selling point. It's more to tell their stories. So within that, because we do that, we give 10% back from each sale. Each retail sale goes directly back to that particular producer, and we make a real point of it going back to that woman's bank account, not to the husband's account, not to the whatever, not back to the importer first or whatever. It goes back into their account so that they can do with it whatever the hell they want to do with it. We don't sort of say, oh, as long as it goes back into the coffee farm or into whatever. We just, it's a really strong point for us to say, if you want to go on whatever you want to do with it, you just do that, because that's your money, you've earned that. It's sort of like almost like they're part of our business, if you like it's almost like a percentage of equity within our business. Yeah, exactly. So that was something that we really wanted to put back into there.
And the one thing I love about that as well is the focus on not asking them where they're putting their money.
Yeah.
It's like, nobody asks me where do you spend your wages.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah.
But all of a sudden, when you're giving money back to a coffee farm, it's like, oh my God, they put it on the school, they put it on this, they did this.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually,
That's
we
not
don't
our
need to
business.
know.
Yeah, that's it. They know how to run their business.
Yes.
Yeah. Just got to trust them, yeah. I want to touch on competitions, if that's okay, for Heidi and Midori, and kind of the competition scene in general and how that's changed over the years. I've never competed. I haven't got the confidence or the guts. Hats off to you two for doing it. But it's kind of, have you seen more women compete over the last few years, or how's that changed?
Yeah, definitely, because ironically, the first competition I ever did, which was the Latte Art Championships, there was only 2 girls in the competition, and it was me, and it was Midori. And so I was like thinking, I was like, oh my God, I want to be like that girl, because I think you came 4th.
I think I was 5th in
Yeah,
the
you
UK.
get something at the top, like
Yeah.
top 6 in the UK, and I was like, oh, I want to be like that. I see, like now, there's definitely more women. I would say, like, in latte art championships, definitely, because of like the years that I did it, I was either like, there was normally just 2 girls competing out like maybe 30 competitors. Cup tasters.
Yeah, there are more female, I think.
I think it's like
yeah.
at least half and half now. Out of like 60 competitors, there's maybe about like 30 women competing, and then like maybe 30 men, or maybe even more.
Although barista, I think, is less.
Yeah,
Yeah,
barista.
championships definitely less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that.
Barista competitions
Yes,
is
yeah.
definitely less.
And I think we obviously had the first female World Barista Championship in 2018.
Yeah.
And hopefully that inspired people to kind of give it a go if they're feeling it.
Yeah,
and just,
definitely.
try it and see
Yeah.
what happens. So
Yeah, I feel like as well with like women moving forward in the industry, we need to be a bit more like fearless and less like support each other to be like, do you know what, go for it. It doesn't matter if you enter and you don't even place like last, like if you get disqualified or whatever, like laugh it off, get back up, move on. And when you have that team of people around you that kind of makes it feel safe for you to fail, then I feel like we'll have more women competing and feeling like they actually can enter.
And I think into business as well, it'd be really good to work closer together as well, instead of feeling
Yeah.
that there's any competition between women to women within businesses. I think it's easy to fall into that category. I've got to prove myself even harder and harder,
Yeah.
which then causes this sort of like tension or competitiveness between women, which is all like, it's so not necessary, because we all need to like literally rise
Yeah.
to the top, right? So yeah, it's how to work together within the industry to sort of like, oh, I know how you can do this if you want to come and learn how to roast or cup or whatever it is. So just to be able to work closer together would be, yeah, a big help.
Yeah, there are so many people come to me and like, oh, I wish I can compete. And I'm like, then do it, you know? The only person who is stopping is like you. Like speak to other people like, hey, I'm thinking about competing in a cup tasters. No one's going to say, oh, you're not good enough, you shouldn't do it. Like everyone will be like, oh my God, that's a great idea, I will support you. Like just speak, like, you know, like it's like a manifestation, right? Like if you want something, just, you know, speak to people. You know, you feel like, oh my God, I'm not good enough, I can't like compete, or I can't get this job. Like if you speak up, maybe you'll find someone who knows somebody to get to that point, and then
Do you think that falls back to the imposter syndrome? I was just
Yeah.
about to say,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think so many of the issues falls back to that, and we've got to try and smash that somehow. I don't know how.
I was going to say, how do we smash that?
Yeah,
And
I
that,
don't
but that's
know.
what I'm saying. Like, if we're all rallying around and like making it feel safe to fail, then it kind of releases some of that imposter syndrome. If you've got 100 people behind you that's like, do you know what? It doesn't matter if you win or lose. Like, we're gonna come and support you.
Yeah.
Then it's like you just go for the laugh. Like, and then if you win, great, even better.
And be proud that you've
Yeah.
actually given it a go, and then learn from whatever maybe didn't go right or you might do differently next
Yeah.
time. But yeah, don't be frightened of giving it a go in the first place.
And you learn so much throughout the journey of like preparing for the competition. Even like barista championship, you never like knew like, I don't know, like this thing exists, or like, you know, you had the opportunity to speak to a, you know, farmer or origin, or, you know, like the roasting team. Like I never roasted before, and then, you know, they will tell you, oh, I did for your coffee, I did this and this and this, and then you learn something new every competition. And then, you know, I think that's worth it. Even if you came like the last, so what, you know?
Yeah.
John, how are we doing for time? 25, okay, cool. So I suppose, is there any advice you would give to women starting out in the industry?
I mean, I think you know, you said it in the fact that you just need to be really fearless. And try and like put the imposter syndrome into a bag for a bit at least, and just kind of
It's
go
hard
for it.
though, isn't it?
It's
really
bloody hard, man.
yeah.
Yeah, like I think for me, I'm a doer, not a thinker, which can be.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it is, you know, like you just got to just go and do it, and then think about it later and have anxious panic attack later. But like, just start it first and just go for it. What is the worst thing that can happen? My career has gone like all over the place and in and out, but every career path I've taken, I've learned something else that has brought me to where I am now. So it's always going to be a learning curve or a learning experience that's going to just give you more tools within your little kit to utilize in whatever it is you want to do. Failure there's no, I don't want to sound like, TED Talks, but, failure is not, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You just learn something from it. We literally live for such a short amount of time. It doesn't bloody matter, Yeah.
Yeah, I think like kind of what Midori said about like support as well. I think like if you are planning or wanting to do a competition or something like that, ask for support, ask for help from like other women or other people who have done the competitions before, because you need the support to be able to do that. And I feel like as women should be more like kind of like, because we train together like every time, like, and now the team forms in Roebuck as well, we all like support each other as a team, like trying to push everyone together to do it. So I feel like obviously being a badass and just like trying to force ourselves to do it, be fearless, but you need to have the people to help you, support you to be fearless as well, because obviously it's, it's still scary, but you need to have the support and like, your cheerleaders to be there like rooting you on.
And chances are there's kind of feelings and worries and being scared, other people are feeling it too.
Oh,
so
yeah,
exactly.
always. And you're always really surprised at who's nervous or also got imposter syndrome. Like, what? How have you? Like, you're an absolute badass legend in the industry, and they're still like, I'm shitting myself right now. But it's that, we don't, as we talk to each other, we don't realize it's, it's that classic thing of just everyone feels the same deep down inside, but you've just got to open up and understand that, I think.
And I would say as well to like, if you want to progress your career, it's like, just take every opportunity that comes, even if it's ridiculous, even if it's inconvenient, even if it's like going to cost you in other ways that's maybe not financial. But so the reason why I am where I am today is because I said yes to things that I definitely, looking back, shouldn't have said yes to, and learned so much along the way. Like, I would get up at like 4 a.m. and be on the train to London to assist with Emma Haynes on coffee courses at the London School of Coffee, because I couldn't afford to pay for the courses myself, so I'd wash the dishes and then take the exams at the end of it as well. Or like with the engineering stuff now, I would go out on site installs with other experienced engineers, and I'd be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Tell me why, tell me why. And I would just try and absorb and ask all the questions, even though it didn't benefit me at the time, like financially, and it was really, really inconvenient, and I was tired, and I was driving long miles to do it. Now I'm like, it's all paid off. And I just, if I hadn't have taken those opportunities, I'd probably still be sat at home thinking, how the heck am I gonna take a different path?
Shall we open it up to some questions?
Go for it.
Anybody got any questions for our panellists? Rosie, would you like the microphone?
Hello. Oh, wow, that feels loud.
Hello.
So I was just going to say, I think when I started my coffee career, Fee and Casey from Girls Who Grind genuinely, like, they made the industry so accessible to me. And I actually, like,
Please don't make me cry.
This does turn into a question. But, like, I think not knowing that much about the industry at the time, and, like, it did actually feel, from the little I knew, felt quite, like, male-dominated, and you guys made it very accessible, and I was like, oh, this is really interesting, this is really cool, maybe this is something I want to do, like, long-term. But I think that helped that you guys were women, and I could kind of see myself in you a little bit, rather than the rest of the little bit I knew was very, like, maybe not that relatable to me. So I was just wondering, like, who is the inspiration for you guys, and do you think that any inspo that has come from other women has helped you think, oh, actually, that has inspired me and made me feel like I can also do that, you know, or no? It also tell me if that sounds like rubbish.
My inspiration. Heidi.
I know you were giving mine.
You're too cute.
But yeah, because like, she's always trying new things like trapeze and like, tennis and like, it's like running and like, she's always active. And then, I look at her and like, oh my God, like if she can do it, I can do it too, and then she compete. And then if she can compete, like I can compete too, So yeah, you're my inspiration.
Oh, that's sweet. Midori was actually going to be one of my inspirations as well.
You can't do that.
But
Oh my god.
other inspirations, actually, is it Esther who has Manhattan?
Yeah.
She was like my latte art idol, like back in the day, because she actually did latte art first, and she was just doing events and stuff like that. But actually seeing her progression in the industry, you were just like, wow, like you were just like running little events and stuff like that, and then she did some competitions, and now she has Manhattan. It's like, oh wow, like you've done like an amazing job, like in the industry, like created like a whole business from it, and the coffees are incredible as well. Any sort of people who, it's always nice seeing a woman competing in competition or like winning a competition or like making chopstick. It's always like an inspiration for me, like when I see someone. Then obviously Midori winning it was great as well. What about you?
So for me, one of the people is Emma Haynes, obviously.
Oh yeah, Emma.
Mama Bear Haynes on Instagram if you want to follow her and check her out. But she was like really encouraging and supportive to me when I started up the first business, and like kind of like dragged me around everywhere and introduced me to a whole load of people and built my network for me through that. But then also I would say another inspiration is Diana Johnson, who's won the roasting competition 2 times. She just like, she's so fierce anyway, but she competes and she just goes and like so headstrong. And then when you meet her as well, she's so down to earth and supportive. And like I was so intimidated by her at first, and then when you speak to her, you're like, oh my God, she's actually like so caring and supportive and considerate and wants you to help grow you in her career as well. So those are kind of people that I would like to be. So yeah.
Well, to be completely honest, I came into the industry quite naive and I didn't know the industry very well. I didn't know many people in the industry. In fact, I knew nobody, because we live in Somerset, so we're not part of the London crew and all the rest of it. So we came in from the right-hand side and sort of swiped in. But I'm going to say, like from as soon as we started within the industry, the amazing support we got from everyone, especially people like Rosie and Sophie, who's out there as well, and lots of other people that we met at our very first London Coffee Festival, has just made that's what spurs us on to keep going, because otherwise it'd be very easy to just go, fuck this, it's too hard, or it's, the business, not just the industry, but business is hard. But everyone that we work with or have dealt with and met along the way is what keeps us going and inspired and wanting to keep things changing.
I was trying to think, and they're not going to ask me, that's fine. I think for me, I've always enjoyed drinking coffee. And always enjoyed learning. And so I've been inspired by so many people, whether it be people that are doing public speaking or people that are roasting, people doing competitions. I would love, I shouldn't say this out loud, but I'd love the idea of doing it, but the thought just scares the living daylights out of me, and the time and effort and kind of, it takes over your life, I can imagine.
Yeah, I lose my hair, like how
really?
stressing, yeah.
Yeah. It scares me. So I think I'm inspired by so many people within the industry, and you combine that with just wanting to learn as much as possible, a bit like you, Esther, just putting my name forward for as many things as possible, whether it's relevant to what you're doing at the time or not, because at some point it might come in useful in the future, and just grab every opportunity you can and put yourself forward. So did that actually answer the question? Loads of people inspire me. So has anybody else got a question? Not wearing the right outfit.
What's a way we can support new and emerging businesses in the industry from young women?
Did you hear that?
No.
How would you support new and emerging businesses in the industry from young women? What steps would you take to support new?
I think do you mean from a business to business perspective, or? Yeah, I think just having a really open door policy is really important, and like, you know, giving the availability of your time if you can, almost in like a mentorship thing, I think would be really important and a really good way of like helping women through the industry, whatever direction they want to take with it. But just to talk about your own story, and I think it gives people sort of a different perspective on how they could do things. It doesn't have to be like a treaded path. So yeah, just having that sort of open door policy and mentoring essentially. Yeah. So.
And then as well as like when people do set up their businesses, like actively using like your money to support them in like going, if someone's opening up a cafe and it's like a female owned cafe, it's like everyone just barricade the doors, like let's get them to sell out on day one. Or if they launch a new product online, like buy it, share it on social media, tag your nan, tag your ex-boyfriend, I don't know, but just get everyone in, like things like that genuinely do help. Like for me, when people share my stuff on social media, I'm like, oh my god, like, and I can see the ripple effects that it actually has. So the small things like that actually do mean a lot for small businesses, and getting women's names out. Like if you hear of a new cafe setting up and there's a roastery local to you that's owned by a woman, be like, oh my god, you need to buy your coffee wholesale directly from here. Here's the number. Like, I'm going to put you in a WhatsApp group and exit. So you have to talk. That's my little technique.
An exit. Hello, leave the room. Yeah.
I literally do.
I can't really talk from like business perspective, because like I don't own a like cafe or anything, but as a barista perspective, if there's like any event, latte art throwdown, whatever, and to meet the new people in the community, like just like if you find it, just like go, and then if you find it, just like bring other people, support, oh, maybe Heidi want to come with me, or maybe like Esther, you want to come with me, if you want to come with me, I don't know, like just say, like spread the word, and go and meet people, and then I think that's something like that people can support each other.
It's a good industry to be in, isn't it? It's a good community, and everyone's lovely, so
everyone's
it's
so
kind of
kind.
just So, any other questions? Yeah. Anybody got anything else what they want to add?
Yay!
So if Brighton has the highest propensity of coffee shops in the UK, how are we going to keep it relevant in the southeast?
Can you repeat the question?
Hi.
We have the highest amount of coffee shops in the UK in this area, and it's kind of unsustainable in that way. So what are the biggest trends going to be for coffee to make it more exciting over the next couple of years?
That's a hard one. That's a hard one, I think, because from a business like ours, we don't have a cafe, so it's hard for me to talk about that side of the business as far as what would make cafes relevant. But from someone who loves cafes and cafe culture, I think it's just really important that I think so many people go into the cafe industry just thinking it's going to be an easy way to make money, and it's very obviously not at all, and it's really hard work. So I think I just want to see more people opening cafes with a real passion for what they're doing. I know that sounds like, obviously they are, but it doesn't happen that way. It happens from a place with sometimes they just have the money behind them or investment or whatever, and I don't think that's the way to go into it. I think there's so much more heart and soul behind coffee as a product that it needs to be mindful when people start cafes, because it's obvious when you go into a cafe that it's not from a place of heart and soul or passion. It's just there to try and make money. And I think those sort of businesses to me are completely soulless, and will sort of hopefully just like fade away, and the ones that have got a real passion for what they're doing and a love for the product and the people behind the coffee, because obviously it's a massive chain of people that work behind coffee. You know, I think it's really important to share all of those stories and get people that are buying the consumers to really understand what it is they're buying. You know, obviously we don't want to preach to the converted, but like you need to give them some insight into what they're drinking and why it is what it is, and it's going to become more expensive, but it needs to, and like just educating along the way as well. But just more heart and soul behind businesses rather than just money.
Yeah, I was going to say on that whole education thing, because like I work in a cafe, but I know that when I go to coffee shops, like I want to have I go to the my local coffee shops because whenever I go in, they're talking to me about the coffee, or like they're telling me something like a new brewing. I'm always learning something every time I go there. So it's like the knowledge of the staff. So I think people need to invest more in like their staff.
Definitely.
We were talking about this on the way, kind of educating the staff. So then like you have people who are like selling your product like better because they have a better knowledge of it and understanding of it. And I think that's really important. And that's why like some cafes, like because they have, I don't know, like staff behind who don't care, they don't have a passion for coffee. It's just a job. It's like, I'm not necessarily going to go have coffee there because I'm not gaining anything by going there. I'm just getting a coffee. Where it's like the ones which I go to in London, like where I go every day, I go there because I'm learning something all the time, every time I go, and having a connection with the barista, but also as well like learning more about the coffee, like the products, like everything. So I think
that's just as important as the coffee itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that for me, I think. Yeah, because we were talking as well. I was like, oh my God, there's so many coffee shops in Brighton. I was actually shocked.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
So beautiful.
Yeah, all really beautiful as well. So I can't imagine what it's like to actually have to
choose one.
Yeah. So from I think educating like your staff, like we were saying about like, oh, it'd be great like if more people could have like SCA courses or training, so like they can upskill, learn more about coffee, so then they become more passionate, but they can share their passion with the people who are coming in. Because again, like there's so many people who come into coffee shops who don't know anything about coffee, and they don't necessarily want to pay. We have an espresso on the menu at Formative for 10 quid, and they're like, why is it £10? And so we educate them because we know about the coffee and we want to like. You have to pay, like this is what you have to pay because it's a competition coffee, like this has gone through like all these processes to create this cup of coffee, and you're paying us to tell you this information. So it's like, you know.
But they'll then share that information with their friends who
people,
don't know much. So you get the trickle effect.
Exactly.
The love of coffee just keeps growing, doesn't it? So.
And just making the more cafes more experiential. I think that's 100%. So important. I'm like so bored in some cafes. It's like, oh man, it's just like I love stark interiors and concrete and all the rest of it. Don't get me wrong, that's like my vibe. But it's just like you've just walked into like an echo chamber. There's it just needs that experience behind the cup. I think.
Yeah, competitor point of view, there are heats everywhere. You know, Cup Tasters is always in Manchester, so I don't know, like, you know, if there's anything in Brighton, heat.
There's a latte art competition today.
I know, Cup Taster, is in Cup Taster Championship is Cup Taster Championship is always in Manchester, and I always, you know, even Brewers Cup competition, I went to Bristol, so like, you know, everywhere, you know, you have access, you know, you have a train, you can just go and compete, you know, it's just, I don't know, if the people say something like, I want to compete, like, I think it's cost money to enter, but, you know,
it's worth it.
It's worth it, yeah.
Cool. That's a good point to end, maybe, Thank you so much. Thank you for coming today. And, thanks for your time. Thanks, everybody.